Welcome back, guys. This is an emergency alert. We are now seeing multiple different states under evacuation orders. Right now, we are seeing explosions happen as well, and we are also seeing hazmat crews on the scene. Right, we're seeing explosions of hazardous chemicals, and we're seeing this potentially leak into waterways even as well, right? And we're having emergencies in multiple different states. We also have evacuation orders in Texas right now for Hurricane Beryl. I will get to a update and the new tracking information on that in just a second as well. So let's dive into this really quick, guys. Please just hit it up for me down there. It helps you get these warnings out so people know what's going on, right? These are live, active situations, and people are currently evacuating their homes and leaving their homes right now, right? So let's dive into this. You guys can see here that, all right, we already have Hurricane Beryl up, right? I thought I was going to get to this after, but it's already up. Let's just dive into it, all right? Hurricane Beryl, it is strengthened into a Category 1 right now, and this is its current path. It is right outside of Houston, Texas, Galveston, Texas, and it is expected to make landfall right around Houston, all right, as a hurricane, and that's its tracking point at 4 p.m. Sunday right now, just right after I'm making this video. So it's expected to be a hurricane. They are ordering evacuations on parts of Galveston and some of the causeway areas as well, because they're expected to have extreme flooding, right? And that hurricane is going to be pushing the water up into these areas, right? So be on the lookout for that. Evacuations have been ordered for Texas. A lot of people are saying they're just staying. They're not going to leave. That's how the vibe kind of is down there, right? Down in the south, down in Florida, we never evacuated, and we had times where the power was out for 2 weeks, right? And we've had times where lightning struck in the backyard and knocked down the tree, right? We've had plenty of situations going through Category 4 and 5 hurricanes, right? I've lived in Florida my whole life. There's been plenty of situations where they order them, but I've never left my home, right? Because I was never in a flood zone, and that's the biggest thing that I worry about personally, right? You follow whatever your local authorities are saying, follow that. I'm just telling you guys what I do personally, all right? Let's get into this explosion that happened as well, right? There's evacuations happening right now in California, right? More evacuations happening. These fires are spreading. There's one right outside of Los Angeles now, a big fire, and evacuations have been ordered, right? Level 3 evacuations of go now. Also, evacuations in Oregon and evacuations in North Dakota, all right? Check this out. This is what just happened in North Dakota. All right, you can see here, this is the scene of a massive 25 to 30 car pileup of these train cars, all right? Massive explosion. This happened out in North Dakota, and they had hazmat crews on the scene ready to go because this trailer, or this train, sorry about that, I'm thinking of trucks right now. This train was filled with toxic chemicals, all right? And it was also filled with fertilizer too, and that is part of the reason why this train exploded, right? And when I saw the story, it kind of reminded me that fertilizer that went missing, right? Do you remember that 6 months ago? Maybe it was even a year ago now. Time just flies by so fast, right? But that fertilizer that went missing, right? It was like 30 tons of fertilizer. It was a massive fertilizer delivery like this, like a whole, dozens of train cars filled up. with this fertilizer, and it just disappeared. No one ever found it. All right, so that's just something that always pops in my head whenever I see these stories. But apparently they have, quote, the train was carrying, quote, intact hazardous materials, so authorities have been monitoring air quality near the incident. All right, and it says the North Dakota EPA told CNN the train was carrying anhydrous ammonia, sulfur, and methanol. All right, and it says anhydrous ammonia is a gas widely used as a nitrogen-based fertilizer and can be extremely dangerous in high quantities, triggering explosions and causing dehydration and severe burns in humans. All right, so this was also near a major waterway as well in North Dakota. And there's a major lake there right near the town of Berdulac, right? That is where this derailment happened, right outside of town. And there's also a major lake, so potentially these chemicals can spill into it. They're also saying that there was a few other chemicals that they were trying to identify and monitor for, like they were saying there was plastic pellets and just random things like that on it as well too. All right, so massive explosion. They were telling people in the general area that they should evacuate so they don't breathe in these toxic fumes. All right, we also have evacuations happening right now in Oregon and California too. All right, so the entire country is being stressed and pushed to its limit. All right, it's one thing to deal with one of these things. It used to be, oh, we're dealing with a hurricane and everyone's focused on it, and this is big news for the whole country. But now we have a hurricane and a dozen other stories that are going on too at the same time. All right, so you can also see that these fires have been causing big smoke plumes throughout the U.S. All right, there's been a few different fires in California and also Oregon that have been spreading. All right, you can see here that El Dorado County wildfire causes damage at the Placerville Airport. All right, this is in California. All right, and El Dorado County is right over here, right outside of Sacramento. Okay, I was trying to make sure I was getting the right. I was like, is this in Oregon? No, it's in California. And it's outside of Sacramento. All right, and it's damaging the airports, and they're also having evacuations going on in Santa Clarita, California, which is right outside of Los Angeles as well. Evacuations have been ordered for a fast moving wildfire, whatever. I'm not sure how these fires just keep popping up left and right everywhere. Let me know what you guys think is going on, because it's kind of suspicious, to say the least. And we also have level 3 go now evacuation orders near Redmond. All right, so, and this is in Oregon. All right, and this fire is also threatening the airport in Redmond as well. So there seems to be a pattern here. All right, these fires keep popping up, and they're bad enough to cause evacuations because they keep popping up right near towns and stuff. They're not even out in the middle of nowhere near Los Angeles, near Sacramento. This one's near Redmond, right? They're not just out in the middle of nowhere. These fires keep popping up right outside of town and threatening things like airports. All right, so let me know what you guys think about these situations here. Please hit it up for me down there. It helps to get these warnings out so people know, right? These are live active fires and situations, and people are still dealing with this hazardous material as well that's going on in North Dakota, right? They're saying that this was the Canadian Pacific Kansas City. That's the train operator that had this derailment. right? And we keep seeing these derailments happen, and there's never anything done about it, right? There should be a national plan to modernize our rail system, rebuild it. Some of these rails are insane. They look like this. They're so rickety and wobbly that it's amazing that any trains can move on them at all, right? So that's what we're dealing with here. Our country is falling apart. That's part of the reason why these things are happening too, is that it's falling apart. And all the trillions and trillions that have been spent just in the past few years, we should have the most modern technology, the most updated infrastructure. All these things should be top of the line, right? But it's deteriorating. Dams are failing all over the place, right? I was reporting on just a couple days ago, major dam failure, another one, the second one within a week. That's happening in the Midwest, right? It's happening in Wisconsin and Illinois because there's been so much rain and so much flooding. They keep having these 100-year floods every year. And the dam was built 100 years ago too, which is part of the problem. Our infrastructure is extremely outdated and it hasn't been modernized, and all of this money and wealth has been kind of squandered, right? We had trillions and trillions of wealth, 40 trillion going on soon. That's 34 trillion right now, if you didn't know. Update, wake up call, 34 trillion. I remember when it hit 20 trillion and I was like, this is like insane. I don't think we're ever turning around. That was just a few years ago, by the way. That was only 5 years ago when it hit 20 trillion. Now it's at 34 trillion. And we're never paying this stuff off. It's never getting paid off. But my point is that 34 trillion, we could have built the most advanced civilization the world has ever seen inside the US. But it's been squandered. Right? We could have had high-speed rail systems zooming back and forth, traveling across the country in a couple hours. All right? We could have had all of this. But it's all squandered because every time they do these projects, there's so much corruption involved. Just like in California, they built this high-speed railway to nowhere. Right? It's out in the middle of nowhere. It's out in a field in the middle of nowhere in California. And it's just a railway. It doesn't even connect to anything, right? They just took these people's land out in the middle of nowhere, eminent domain, I'm sure, for this project. Built a bunch of junk on it, some lifted rails, okay? But it's not even connected. It's not connected to anything. The rails are just sitting there in the middle of nowhere, not even near any towns or anything. Whose idea is this? This is like part of the problem. This is what keeps happening. The wealth in America is squandered, right? At every single turn, somebody is trying to make themselves rich off the American people, and this is part of the problem. We should have the most advanced fire detection technology. All these things, we should be able to put these fires out instantly, right? And detect them instantly right away so we can stop them. But all these things have been squandered, right? The rail system should be completely new. The airport systems, look at all these planes falling apart. Nobody wants to fly in a plane anymore. If you've been reading the news the past 6 months, how Boeing aircrafts have a flight emergency every other day, every week. There's a major flight emergency and they have to have an emergency landing because the door flew off, or a panel flew off, or an engine stopped working, or something crazy's happened. Someone's acting crazy on it, right? I saw one just the other day. There was so much turbulence that some guy ended up in the baggage thing up above your head. Like when you're sitting down up there, it apparently opened it up and it threw him up in there, and he got stuck in there. And he had to bang to get out of there. Tell people, let me out. Right? our country the infrastructure is falling apart, right? And you see some of these other countries that they just recently got more wealth, okay? They started spending their wealth and building their own infrastructure, right? Even countries like China, countries like the UAE, right? All these different countries in the Middle East, Saudi Arabia, they are using their wealth to build up their infrastructure. And I've seen some things that are incredible coming out of there, right? To give them credit. And that's not everything, right? They have major issues too, major flaws. But at least they are reinvesting in their country and their infrastructure and trying to make their country better, right? Even if it's selfishly just for them, they're trying to build their country up. That's what I want for our country. I want our country to have the best airports, the best rail systems, the best highways, the best power plants, all these things, the best grid. And it's all rickety. It's all falling apart. And we're going to continue to see these crises happen if we continue down this path where these things are neglected, right? It's like if you never maintain your car, your truck, you just run it into the dirt, never do maintenance, never change the brakes, never change the oil. You just run it into the dirt and the mud and you never fix it. It's not going to last long. But if you maintain it, you take care of it, it can last forever. You can have 250,000 miles, right? My truck already has 101,000 right now. All right, so get yourself prepared, guys. Get yourself ready. Have an evacuation plan as well in case you need to leave. Have your items. They were telling people this level 3 evacuation order. All right, they were telling people, don't grab anything. Don't wait. Go now. They were saying don't get any of your goods or anything. They're saying just leave now. Leave right freaking now. That's what they were saying. So have a plan already. You don't know how quick these things can happen. You just never know. You can get the text alert on your phone, or you can just get a bang at the door. Right? That's what they do sometimes. The police and the fire department will go door to door and they will tell you, you have to leave right now. We're forcing you to leave. And if you don't leave, then we're not going to help you. You're on your own and you are not going to have any emergency services, or no one's going to help you, right? That's the problem. Same thing with the hurricane. If they tell you to leave and you don't leave, the police will not help you. Maybe they'll help you afterwards, after the storm, when it's safe for them. But the police, the Coast Guard, the National Guard, fire department, if there's evacuation orders, they're not going to go into the evacuation zone and help you. You should have evacuated. That's their rules, right? That's how it works for them. So it's up to you. If you don't evacuate, you're on your own. So you should have your own preps. You should be ready. If it's a active fire like this, that's that close, I would evacuate. All right, but if it's a Category 1 hurricane and I'm not going to flood, then I'm not going to evacuate. Right? So that's just me personally. Listen to your local authorities, officials, and everything. Listen to them and make your own decisions. Right? That's just what I would do. I'm not recommending anyone not to evacuate or anything like that, because everyone has different circumstances, so you might need to. All right, so thank you guys. I hope you guys have big blessings for your life, your family, your homestead, and I hope you have a big old blessed day.